Update. I'm here. This gentleman here, I caught him with a long lens camera in the bushes taking photographs of me. I was in my car with people. There's his camera. Look, he legged it. He's caught here. Journalists, eh? Journalists. But he got caught red-handed. He legged it, and then here we are. So, update, I've got the full conversation, full clear images of his face, full opportunity where I ask him what he thinks he's doing, following me and my family about this, what they do. They follow my family everywhere. I'm taking photos, mate, hanging out of bushes. He was hanging out of a bush with a long lens camera, taking photos. Scumbag. I asked him if it would be acceptable if I do that to him when we find out who he is, because I'm sure when the full video comes out of our conversation, his weaselly little answers. He's in there now on the phone to the police. Because the funny thing is, look how he's parked, look. He's parked there, and he can't get out. So, we'll see what happens here. Developing news story. Journalist caught being a dirty little scoundrel.
It is a scene that has become almost routine in Britain's turbulent culture wars. Tommy Robinson, the polarizing activist and commentator, confronting journalists with a camera in one hand and anger in the other. But a recent incident has reignited questions about where press scrutiny ends and personal harassment begins. Robinson claims that a journalist followed him and his family, taking photographs of his children during a private day out. In a heated video posted to social media, Robinson branded the reporters as dirty, rotten scoundrels and warned they don't like it up 'em, vowing to confront those he believes are crossing ethical lines in pursuit of a story. Sources close to Robinson have alleged that the journalists were affiliated with the Daily Mail, a claim that the paper has neither confirmed nor denied publicly. The Mail has previously published extensive investigations into Robinson's activities, including his finances and public statements, arguing that his influence on fair right movements and protests is a matter of legitimate public interest. For Robinson's supporters, however, the latest incident is proof of a double standard. While media outlets decry harassment when it happens to reporters, they argue that the same outlets think nothing of ambushing activists' families to generate headlines. They want to destroy his life, one supporter wrote on Telegram, and they think his kids are fair game. Media ethics experts note that public figures, particularly those who engage in political activism, are subject to heightened scrutiny. However, photographing minors and following families in non-public settings can cross ethical boundaries, even if technically legal. The Society of Editors guidelines recommend sensitivity when involved and stress the need to balance public interest with privacy. Meanwhile, Robinson has used the incident to galvanize his audience, framing himself as a family man under siege by a media establishment determined to silence dissent. It is a narrative that resonates with parts of a public increasingly distrustful of traditional media, and Robinson is adept at leveraging these moments to fundraise and build momentum for his platform. For the press, the incident highlights the delicate balance between holding powerful or controversial figures accountable and respecting personal boundaries. While Robinson remains a figure of public interest due to his influence on protests, particularly around issues of grooming gangs and free speech, his family members are private citizens, and questions linger about the necessity and methods of such journalistic pursuit. The incident is unlikely to end here. Robinson has signaled he will continue confronting journalists he accuses of harassment, while media outlets maintain that his activities warrant investigation, particularly given his past criminal convictions and ongoing role in fair right activism. In an era where citizen journalism and social media have blurred the lines between reporting and activism, the Robinson episode underscores a larger cultural clash. One where the right to scrutinize public figures collides with the right to family privacy, and where the public's growing skepticism of the press fuels support for those who challenge its methods, however controversial they may be. As Britain wrestles with questions of free speech, press freedom, and accountability, one thing is certain: The tensions between Tommy Robinson and the media will not fade quietly, and both sides seem prepared for the next confrontation.
I've taken money from pensioners. I was planning to take it from the sick and disabled. I've angered the farmers who keep the nation fed. I've raided independent schools, many of whom cater for those with special educational needs. And my crazy NI hike has had the effect I said it would have in 2019. When I made the point that it was a jobs tax, so anti-growth. Did I write that speech? And now I'm crashing the economy. Rachel Reeves. That's what she should be crying for. Whether that's why she was crying remains to be seen. But it all did seem to kick off when Sir Keir Starmer refused to answer whether he could guarantee her future as Chancellor. Also, her face was puffy beforehand. Anyway, the tears turned the markets into another downward spiral. The fact that she couldn't tell us why was more the problem. Now, you know how we all feel, Rachel. We're all crying. When the Labour government took office, you had left-wing advocates like Carol Vorderman claiming the grown-ups are back in charge. Keir Starmer stood on a plinth of integrity and change. Little did we realise what he actually meant was just to change his mind on everything.
Now our country has voted decisively for change, for national renewal and a return of politics to public service.
Public service, more like help yourselves. They kick things off with Lord Ali and Freebiegate, Sir Keir Starmer being the worst offender, but many of his front bench had their snouts in the trough too. Since then, we've had constant U-turns. Now, I'm not saying don't U-turn, but on all these occasions it was clear from the get-go that they were bad decisions. Policy number one, winter fuel allowance. Obviously a damn squib, which is why they did not include it in their manifesto. Their majority would probably not have been so big. It caused a major divide. Then there was the inquiry into the grooming gangs. Pretty obvious. It was needed, but they dug their heels in until the inevitable and predictable happened. It was just common sense. They would have known the public would not let this one go, but they stubbornly pursued it until the inevitable.
So make sure you're doing these things properly. There are lots of sensitive information, sensitive cases across the country. That process has now concluded. The report has been written by Baroness Casey, and on the basis of that, a national inquiry will now follow.
Of course it will. Keir backtracked on the welfare reforms, courtesy of his own backbench.
Listened to its backbenchers, has made major changes and is going to deliver those.
Smashing gangs isn't working, which we all knew it wouldn't, even though Patrick Christie could find them.
Hello, my friend, how are you? My friend, you must tomorrow come here in Cali, and after tomorrow we go, inshallah. Okay? You must tomorrow to come here the morning, and we go there in the mountain, and after tomorrow we go, inshallah.
No, my friend, tomorrow. No, after tomorrow. Because tomorrow in the afternoon, we go to UK. Okay?
Somehow Border Command Control, or whatever it is, was struggling even to find someone to take charge of it. Big mistake scrapping Rwanda on day one and pretending that a third-party processing centre was not needed. Crossings are up 50% from this time last year. There's been the Chagos Island surrender and the fishing giveaway. Even the normal press has turned against him.
The speed of the decline in your popularity is historically unprecedented. Isn't this speech today an admission that you have failed and Nigel Farage understands voters better than you?
Reform UK say you're running scared of them, that you're sounding increasingly like them with some of the policies and announcements you've made recently. This is a speech that was very defensive, wasn't it?
The wider issue of the opposition you're now facing, do you think one of the problems is that Nigel Farage can approximate talking like a human being, where you just resort to talking points and dodging questions.
Also, if I may, are you not worried people will ask why you're holding a press conference about Nigel Farage 4 years out from a general election instead of focusing on your plans for the country?
Chris Soap, GB News. Prime Minister Nigel Farage has 5 MPs. You've got 403. Are you panicking because Reform is so far ahead in the polls, it seems? Is he living rent-free in your brain?
So those clips from the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and, of course, GB News. Well, honestly, and this morning, this came out.